Hello everybody, welcome to my YouTube channel. This is my first video, so please bear with me. I'm still learning, so this video probably will not have any editing done, and my lighting, as you can tell already, is pretty terrible. So hopefully you'll enjoy this nonetheless. See, I totally need to know how to edit. So today I'm going to be baking in this video, and we're gonna bake some rock cakes. And I got this recipe out of the unofficial Harry Potter cookbook, and it'll probably be backwards for you, and I'm sorry, because I'm using my phone for now until I can upgrade to some better things to be able to do this. So anyway, so the first thing you're going to need for your rock cakes is you're gonna need flour, which I already have all of my ingredients set out. So you're gonna make sure you want to go ahead and get all your ingredients set out, ready to go before you even start baking. That way you're not running from the kitchen to the pantry, getting different things when you could just be getting it all mixed together and getting things baked a whole lot faster. So like I said, you're gonna need flour. You're going to need, oh, my lid came off. You're gonna need some granulated sugar. You're going to need baking powder, cinnamon, salt, cold butter, which is staying in the refrigerator until I need it because it has to stay cold for this recipe. 1 large egg, which is also in the refrigerator. The milk is also in the refrigerator too, but it's just right over here, so I'm not gonna be like running clean into my pantry. And then also you're going to need some raisins. Now you can use any kind of raisins you want. These are just raisins that my kids have brought home from school for whatever reason. So they're just packs of boxes of raisins, so I'm going to use those in this recipe because otherwise they won't get ate anyways. So, and you also need, excuse my dog, you're also going to need a bowl, a whisk, a separate bowl. This is the bowl that you're going to mix everything in together. A mixer, which I have my mixer behind me here, and of course you're going to need your measuring cups and your measuring spoons as well. And then obviously you need something to bake it on, right? So you're going to need your pan. Ignore my pan, it's well loved. I love to bake, and so my pan is well loved. And then you need, for this recipe specifically, you need some grease. So I just use shortening, and then some flour because you're going to have to grease and flour your cookie sheet. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to get the oven preheated to 350 degrees. Thankfully my oven, as soon as you hit the bake button on it, it automatically sets itself to 350 degrees, so that makes it nice. So we're going to go ahead and do that, and while that's preheating, then you go ahead and start your baking. So first off, I forgot my apron, so just 1 second. Okay, I'm back. I got my apron. And of course, since we're baking something from the unofficial Harry Potter recipe book, I have to wear my ever awesome, unofficially licensed, homemade, by the way, might I add, Harry Potter apron. Get this tied up. And you totally don't have to wear an apron. I don't always wear an apron, but I also don't want to ruin my shirt. So it's totally up to you if you want to wear an apron or not. All right, so now that we have the oven preheated, also always make sure that you check your oven. Excuse me. Always make sure you check your oven before you preheat it, because sometimes There's been times when I've left my cast iron skillet in there and forgot about it and went to preheat my oven, only to find it when I went to put my items that I was baking into the oven. So then I have to pull out this hot skillet, of course with oven mitts, but had to pull that out nonetheless because I forgot to. So I did already check the oven. There is nothing inside, besides the oven racks, of course. So it is ready to go, and we are getting that preheated. So now let's get to baking. So the first thing after you preheat your oven, it wants you to grease and flour your cookie sheet. So we're gonna go ahead and do that. And my hands are clean. I just washed my hands. I always wash my hands before I start any kind of baking. So I'm just gonna use my fingers and go down inside the grease and just get just a little bit. And then I'm gonna run it over my cookie sheet. Now this doesn't say that if you have a non-stick cookie sheet that you don't have to do this. Mine is a non-stick cookie sheet, so I'm just gonna go ahead and do it anyways. Just like I said, my cookie sheet is very well loved, and sometimes things still tend to stick to my cookie sheet. So we'll just go with the instructions as they say. All right, so we got that nice and well greased. And now I'm gonna wash my hand because I got all this grease on me. So normally I guess this is the part that I would edit out of the video, because I don't know how. I guess I could have just paused it. That's okay. I'm learning with everybody. In case anybody is new to the YouTube thing. So I know I will, assuming some of my followers will be from my friends list on my Facebook page, because I used to do videos on there before I decided to come over to YouTube. Then I just sprinkle just a little bit of flour on the cookie sheet. Make sure you get that nice and coated. I got balls of flour rolling around on my pan. I think I put too much flour on the cookie sheet. That's okay, we'll fix that. Okay, so we got the cookie sheet nice and floured and greased and ready to go. So next we're gonna start with mixing all of our dry ingredients. And now I'm gonna mix all of my dry ingredients into my mixer bowl first, because the separate bowl is gonna be for my liquid ingredients. Okay, so the first thing is we need 2 cups of flour. So let's get that. We need sugar. Okay. Baking powder. This is where you need your measuring spoon. And what I like about this baking powder is it has a little lip right there, so you can scrape the top of your spoon to get any excess off before you dump it into your bowl. Okay, the cinnamon. I'm about out of cinnamon. But I've got enough for this. Thankfully. Oh, we got some cinnamon all over the book. That's okay. It happens. Happens to the best of us. And then we need our salt. Usually when I do the salt, I like to hold it over the bowl in case I overpour just a little bit. You don't want to overpour too much, of course. But sometimes it just happens that I overpour just a tiny little bit, like a couple granules maybe. That beep was the oven, so the oven is ready for when we get ready to pop this stuff in, these items in the oven. Okay, now I need my butter. I get my butter. Butter. Of course my butter was buried. Ooh, that was loud. Okay. Now I need 8 tablespoons of cold butter cut into chunks. So I don't have a stick. My butter's actually in a bowl. I just have bowl butter. So I'm just gonna do 8 tablespoons, and I don't have to cut them into chunks because they're basically gonna be in chunks already. Where are you? Make sure you smooth it. I need to figure out an editing feature to where we can like fast forward this part or time lapse this part, because this is the boring part. That's 2. We have 3. 4. 5. 6. Shaking it all out of the spoon. 7. 8. Now you see that I'm using my fingers. This is why I always make sure my hands are clean, because a lot of times using your fingers, it's a whole lot easier than just getting out a spoon or something else. Just using your hands is a lot easier. Plus, this recipe actually calls for you to use your fingers. So, yeah. Okay, so I don't need the measuring spoons anymore. So I'm going to go ahead and throw those in the sink. And now it tells me to, with my fingertips, rub the butter into the dry ingredients until the mixture reaches the consistency of wet sand. Okay. So I got to do this with my fingertips. And if you wear rings, which I only wear one, I highly recommend that you remove your rings before you start baking. Especially if your recipe calls for you to use your hands, because then you'll have all that fun cleaning your rings later, getting all the stuff out of your rings. Okay. Still have some butter, plain butter on my fingers. I use my clean hand to scrape all those off, all that off, back into the bowl. Okay, so we're to the consistency of wet sand. There's a few lumps, but that will disappear once we put our liquid in. And actually put it in the mixer or use the mixer. So anyways, if you don't know what wet sand looks like, hopefully most people know what wet sand looks like, but I'll show you here. Some of it's kind of clumping together. But I don't know if you can see, but or can tell that it's a wet sand consistency. So we have our wet sand consistency. Oh wait, there's a little bit that I didn't get. It was on the bottom, so that's okay. All right, now I'm gonna wash my hands again really quick, and I'll be right back, and we'll we'll do our wet ingredients. All right, now that I got my hands nice and clean again, we're gonna go ahead and mix the egg and the milk, and then we'll take our dry mixture over to the mixer, over to the mixer to add in our wet ingredients. So I went ahead and grabbed the egg and the milk out of the refrigerator after I got my hands cleaned. So we'll go ahead and crack the egg. Make sure you don't get any shells in there. Nobody likes shells in their rock cakes. And then we need our third of a cup of milk. And I really love these little tiny measuring cups. This is strictly for a third of a cup of whatever liquid you're using in your recipe. So I really love that. Instead of getting out a great big bulky measuring cup, all I had to get out was this little tiny measuring cup. Okay. Lid back on my milk before an accident happens. And now we want to whisk our egg into our milk. We just want to do that to where it's nice and mixed in together. We no longer need that, so we'll put that as well into the, Okay, so now we're going to move over to the stove so you can, because the stove is closer to the mixer. So we're going to move over there really quick. All right, now we're just after we get our bowl nice and secure to our mixer, if you have a mixer like this. If you just have a hand mixer, that's totally fine too. Should totally probably not use that side. Let's lower it into the bowl first. Okay. Now that we've lowered it into the bowl, we lock it into place. Stir that up a little bit. And I'm using if you have one of these, I'm using the dough with the folding mechanism on there if you didn't see it. So now we're going to pour in our egg mixture. Says we want a hard, stiff dough. We want to form a stiff dough. So I'll show you what it looks like after it's done and after I put the raisins in. So we need a cup of raisins, and also I will put a link below where you can get this book if you are interested in purchasing it, so that you can also make your own Harry Potter inspired meals as well. Okay, so now that we got a stiff dough going, let's add our raisins. It says we want to fold in the raisins, so I'm gonna just keep that on there. I'm gonna shut it off for just a second so I can get the raisins measured out and put into the bowl. Okay. Again, I've got like 12 boxes of these. Oh, I'm probably not going to need all 12 boxes, but you just never know. Okay, I gotta open the other end to kind of poke them down in, because they don't want to just fall out. If you know how raisins are, they're quite sticky.